Welcome to the Big Brother Breakdown with Joleen. Welcome to the BB Breakdown with Joleen. That's me. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother Breakdown with Joleen. That's me. I break down all things Big Brother. Right now we're watching Celebrity Big Brother Season 3, and I'm going to tell you everything happening on the live feeds and things that you need to know. We'll break it down in a hilarious fashion, and we're here to have a good time. Make sure you smash that like and leave a comment or comments as we go along, and let me know all your hopes, dreams, thoughts, and opinions. Also follow me on TikTok, you guys. I am getting closer and closer to 500 followers, where I'm posting smaller, condensed, funny updates and impressions about CBB 3. I'm trying to get to 1K followers, so I appreciate all of you who have followed me thus far. All right, let's get into it. So Saturday in the Big Brother house, the Celebrity Big Brother house, the house guests are getting up and they're moving around and they got their eye patches on and they're just, jading their faces with those roller things and having little kikis. My favorite bedroom right now is this chocolate pink bedroom that Carson, Cynthia, and Shayna sleep in because stuff's always happening in there. And I love Carson and Cynthia. Early morning kikis, they're everything. They were talking this morning about Misha, it's either the house guests love her or they don't really care for her at all. And she's been described by a lot of the other women and also some of the guys as being like a guy's girl. Cynthia and Carson were talking about Misha, and they were saying that she ordered a sparring dummy because she's been working out, because she's training for an upcoming fight, I believe in May, and trying to drop a weight class. So she's food prepping. And remember, Teddy and some of the other women in the house did not appreciate that Misha apparently does not clean up after herself for meal prepping. Okay, so Carson said, yeah, she bought a doll to beat up. And it was just funny the way they said it, that she would just be sitting in the gym in the Big Brother house beating up a doll. Cynthia and Carson both agreed that they're not going to beg, and they will not grovel. And nominations are today. And so they're kind of getting set for that. We already have another eviction on Monday. If you didn't already know, Kirkpatrick won the HOH. So he is the new HOH. Insync Chris, or Kirk, as we like to call him. And the HOH competition was something having to do with potatoes and maybe tossing potatoes and scoring points. Apparently, when they opened his room, I was watching last night on the feeds, and they, we know these Celebrity Big Brother house guests, they don't really know what's going on. And that can make for pretty entertaining live feeds. And so Shayna and Kirkpatrick were trying to open up the HOH room. They didn't realize that it's a production. And who wants to see my HOH room? Even though Chris in Sync, had his son saying that in his opening package before going on the show. So they were trying to open up the door, and then Kirkpatrick actually walked in to the DR. He got buzzed in to the DR upstairs because he wanted to talk to them about when they were going to open his HOH room. And then he walked out and he looked frightened, and Shayna's like, what's going on? And he goes, I heard someone in there. I think someone's in there. I heard someone say, how does Kirkpatrick winning the HOH affect your game? So I think what ended up happening is he heard Cynthia downstairs doing her DR when he was buzzed in to the DR upstairs, but it really freaked him out. Ultimately, they had to wait a little bit longer until they got into his HOH room. And Misha, I believe, was the only other Celebrity house guest who did not go when he was like, who wants to see my HOH room? She said, I've already been up there. I've already seen an HOH room. I don't need to see yours. I got dolls to punch in the morning. So she did not go up there, which for someone as strategic as Misha Tate, that is not good strategy, because people could take that as a slight to them, because that's the time when you read your letter, you show the pictures of your family. And Misha, she likes to go to bed very early and eat lettuce. So she did not make it up there. All right, back to Cynthia and Carson. They're not going to grovel. They're not going to beg. Nominations today. Lamar's having a really hard time sleeping. He said that he's suffering from sleep deprivation, so he's saying a lot of funny things throughout the day. Despite taking a lot of melatonin, the guy just cannot sleep. Shayna asked him why he was hitting the wall last night. Apparently, Lamar, I heard him do it tonight when they finally went to bed. And he's been doing it every night, where he pounds on the wall because his bed is on the other side of Shayna's in that room outside of theirs. And he's like, are you warm? And then Shayna and them say, yeah, it's a little warm, Lamar. So he basically pounds on the wall to ask them if they're hot to. You gotta love Lamar Odom. He is giving us entertaining feeds. Carson and Cynthia also talk about Misha, that she's really the boss up in here. So they believe she's calling shots, and they're kind of laughing about it. Something going on in the Big Brother house is the Houseguests are really afraid of athlete's foot, especially Todrick and Mariah. Todrick's been pouring like something on his feet. Maybe it's not hydrocortisone, like hydrogen peroxide or something in between his toes, because none of them have slides. Because again, another way that the celebrity Big Brother Houseguests don't know a ton about the house or have watched a lot of seasons or episodes. So we're used to seeing our Houseguests come in with some kind of sandals, Adidas slides, Birkenstocks. And I know that Mariah Nagasu has Birkenstocks, but a lot of them didn't come with sandals. So they're walking around the Big Brother house barefoot with all that bacteria. It is nasty. So they're worried about athlete's foot. And Lamar was showing his feet last night, and one of his toes, I think, is black, and like his toenail. And I think Mariah said that's because of athlete's foot, but I don't ever remember hearing that athlete's foot turns your toenail black. But I could be mistaken. So today they actually got slides. They got a whole collection of sandals for everyone to wear around the house, so that hopefully there is not a fungus among us. As you can see behind Shayna Mokler here, there's some sandals, and they notice, like, why are all these sandals on the ground? Well, it's because they don't want you guys to get athlete's foot. Chris Kattan is upset. Throughout the day, he had moments when he was okay, but then after nominations, he was upset, and that's because Chris NSYNC nominated Chris Kirkpatrick and Mariah Nagasu for eviction. Now, they haven't played the Power of Veto competition yet. That'll be coming up tomorrow. They're going to have a lot to tape tomorrow. It looks like Mariah Nagasu, she is trying to figure out what to do in this house so that she can stay a little bit longer. And one of the things I've noticed she's done is she decided she brought her own nail stuff. So she's been helping some of the women with their nails. She actually put on a mask, and in the sauna, she put gloves on and everything, and she was helping Shayna with her nails. She gave her a little fill. Mariah is also giving people massages. So I feel like she's doing everything she can. Previously, Teddy had talked about her giving massages to the guys, and don't sell your soul or your integrity, Mariah. And really, Mariah's not just giving massages to the guys. She was giving Cynthia a very long massage, I believe, this morning on the live feed. So it's basically like she knows that this whole thing that happened that they're not clearly going to show us in the episodes, and we didn't get to see because it was before the feeds were turned on, where she allegedly had a little bit of a freak out and some people got upset with her. So now she knows she has to make up for that. So she's decided, well, maybe I'll just rub some backs. I mean, it's not the worst strategy in the world. There are tons of house guests on Big Brother who have cooked, cleaned, banged their way through this game. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And let me tell you, Cynthia Bailey was very appreciative. And if I had someone who would rub my back, I'd probably keep them in the house. I probably would. So she's given Carson back rubs, Lamar Odom, which is the one that Teddy was talking about. And just, how could she? It's like whatever you got to do to stay in the Big Brother house. Shayna and Chris NSYNC, aka Chris Kirkpatrick, aka Kirk, are a pretty tight duo. And then you have Misha Tate and Todrick Hall, a tight duo. You have Mariah Nagasu floating. You have Carson and Cynthia like floating around trying to find her place. I wouldn't call her necessarily a floater yet, but she's trying to figure where she falls in after having, 3 days where it was described by other house guests that she was crying and kind of freaking out and maybe saying things about people that they didn't appreciate. Maybe saying Chris Kirkpatrick was creepy. Maybe saying Todd Bridges might have said racist things. This is all according to Teddy previously before she left. And then also saying it wasn't fair that Chris Kattan and Todd seemed like they don't want to be there, but she was the one that might be going home. So she had a little bit of an emotional time in the house. So she's still trying to figure that out. Cynthia and Carson, obviously besties for the resties. Lamar and Todd, besties for the resties. So really, I guess Chris Kattan and Mariah are somewhat close, but now they're on the block together. I wouldn't say they're as close as the other duos. But a lot of talk today on the live feeds with Shayna and Chris in sync. They're talking about Todrick, and they say that there's been more talk about how Todrick has talked about needing the money. I need this money. I need it. And Teddy didn't need it, and I need it. And then he shares a lot, that Todrick Hall does. He definitely shares a lot. And he had shared that he almost at one time spent $250,000 on the Wicked Witch of the West hat from the movie The Wizard of Oz. And Teddy took that and ran with it before she left and said, how can you say you need money when you are saying you're going to buy a $250,000 hat? He didn't buy it, but he does have a lot of memorabilia in his house. And he also shared with them, including Shayna, that his house was about 10,000 square feet. To most people, Todrick isn't hurting for money, but this is what he's been saying, he's been using for a strategy. And Shayna's like, he's got it better than me. I mean, he's got this 10,000. I mean, Shayna needs the money more than Todrick. I would say Todd Bridges might need the money more than Todrick. Or I'm sorry, more than Todrick, and maybe even Chris Kattan. I'm not sure. But this is something that Todrick's talking about. And it's coming back to bite him strategically. So it's probably something he never should have brought up if he's going to share that he has a 10,000 square foot house and buys expensive Wizard of Oz memorabilia. Chris Kirkpatrick said that he wants to keep Cynthia and Carson around to help his game and to go after Misha Tate and Todrick. So Chris Kirkpatrick, his strategy right now is he doesn't want to go for Carson or Cynthia, which is what Misha and Todrick want him to do. They want him to take out preferably Carson, maybe even Cynthia, but he doesn't want to do this. And Misha and Todrick spent much of the day talking to Chris, talking to Shayna, pushing hard to get them to see that Carson is a big threat to everyone's game. But Chris in sync is like, he's not really a threat to my game at this time. Mariah is more of a threat, where Todrick believes that Chris in sync is putting Mariah up because of personal reasons that happened before the feeds turned on. Like I said before, there was some kind of situation between Mariah and Chris in sync where she might have said it was creepy, and then she might have said something else. I'm not sure what, because it seems like they were told not to talk about it. So we're just left to wonder, did Mariah Nagasu bully Chris in sync? Maybe. We don't know. And we might never know till after this damn season. I wish Big Brother would just include the things that happen in the house on the episodes and let us see the live feeds before the 9th day these house guests are in the house. But I digress. They didn't. So Todrick is going around telling people like Shayna and Misha, it's not a good look for Chris in sync to put up Mariah Nagasu, because it looks like this, since it's not going to show up in the episodes, in Big Brother's edit, the situation that happened between Chris in sync and Mariah Nagasu. So now it just looks like Chris in sync is targeting this young Asian woman who just wants to represent for her culture. Chris in sync and Shayna Moakler are like, no, they don't care. They're like, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look game related. Okay, it's not going to look like that. But Chris in sync really does seem to want Mariah out. He doesn't like that, she didn't go before now. And he sees it as kind of a sign of disrespect that some people want to keep her despite this situation that he was in with her. But Chris in sync explained it like, we did what you guys wanted, being Misha and Todrick last week, getting rid of Teddy. Now we're going to do what I want to do. But Misha and Todrick think you are taking a number away from us because Mirai is willing to work with us. Because if you guys don't remember, Mirai made a deal with Misha in order to kind of be safe, is that she said that if she gets power, she won't target them and she's not going to target Misha. But Chris and Sink is like, I don't know if she won't target me. And Todrick's like, she wouldn't. She would never. So they're pushing really hard for Mirai Nagasu. And Chris and Sink and Shayna didn't like that. So Todrick basically is trying to run everyone's HOH. And Misha Tate is now just saying word for word everything Todrick has said about Carson. Todrick and Misha are terrified of Carson. You would think Carson was this big, huge strategic threat. I mean, Carson's doing a great job. His social game is on point. He's doing great in the competitions, but they're really making it out like Carson just won this whole game already. Apparently, Todd told Chris Kirkpatrick that he can't nominate Lamar because he was thinking about possibly nominating Lamar because Lamar has been saying he wants to go. You know, Lamar Odom came on the show. He wanted to sell his book and try to get Khloe Kardashian back. And that was it. Other than that, he's like, I don't know how this game is played. I'm going to wear a poncho and I might shart the bed to the point where TMZ is going to pick it up as a story, but that's about it. But Lamar has been surprisingly entertaining, so I hope he doesn't go. Todd and other players in the house are like, no, you leaving is not only it's gonna F up my game. I think Shayna's using a little bit of playing dumber than she is about this game when talking to Chris Insync. And I think that's because she picks up on the fact that Chris Insync is very ego driven in the sense that he likes to be like, no, I will give this to you. He has a little bit of a savior complex and he likes kind of hearing his own voice and thinking that he's right. So there are times when Shayna asks these questions where I'm like, she's definitely doing this on purpose. And also great gameplay because you don't want to seem like you know too much. Save that for when you are campaigning to the jury and telling your piece of how you got into the final two. Let these dudes think they're super smart when really you know exactly what's going on, Shayna. Chris is, they're getting to the point in the game where a lot of the house guests are kind of paranoid. And Chris in Sync was saying that, this is a crazy game. Not washing your pan can get you in trouble in this game. And this game swings so much. Shayna says that Todrick is separating himself from everyone. And Chris in Sync says that's because he's so far up Misha's ass. So yeah, and let me tell you, Todrick is in love with Misha. He watches her work out. He said he's going to write her entry song or whatever happens when you go to your cage fight and you come out, you're like, you're the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep you down. I don't know why. I just think of the Karate Kid every time. But, when Danielson walks out and he's got a song, all the fighters have songs. And Todrick's like, I'll totally write you a song. And Misha was working out today in the gym and Todrick was just in there and counting the seconds for her. And she's talking about how strong she is and how great she is. And he's definitely got a girl crush. Shayna said she was going to try to get closer to Misha, but so far she hasn't been very successful. She said Misha just isn't giving her much. She talks to the guys, but she won't talk to her. And she thinks it's very frustrating. So she might not be able to get close to her. And then Chris Insync said he was going to try to get a little closer to Todd. The house guests continue to just be clueless about certain terms in the game, and it's pretty hilarious.
What's POV?
The house guests are calling, instead of power of veto, they go power of the veto, power. They're making it sound even more important than it already is. Chris Insync had to explain, you guys, today to Lamar Odom how the game works. He basically gave him the 101 Big Brother for Dummies tutorial quickly in the HOH room. Why Todd talked to Shayna. Chris was like, here's what happens. We have the power of veto. You can take yourself off the block. Yes, you have to stay till the end of the game, Lamar, to win. Lamar's like, you do? You can't be voted out when he's like, no, you have to be in the final two. There's also a second place. You can get money. You can. Lamar Odom had no idea. He was like, yeah, I did not pack enough ponchos for this shit. And then Todd was explaining to Shayna, who again was like, what? What are you talking about? What Teddy did wrong in her campaign to Misha. He said, and then she told Misha that he's she was gonna, go after Todrick, her number one ally, and that was a big no to Misha. And so Todd Bridges and Lamar Odom continued to be delightfully clueless about this game. Todd Bridges was also mad at Cynthia Bailey because she didn't vote for him. And so there was a little bit of that going on. They ultimately, I think they're fine now, but at first he was upset because he thought Cynthia was not going to vote for him. But Cynthia's like, I had to go and vote you out because, I had to deal with Teddy and I had to keep my promise to her. I didn't expect you to get screwed over in the nom now, the Mon Wan. Chris and Sink is referring to Mariah as a loose cannon quite a bit. They're not dropping this Mariah thing. And that's the thing that kind of pisses me off, because if you're going to say she's crazy, she's a loose cannon, she lost it, then be able to show us and tell us so we can make the decision as viewers ourselves without just talking about this woman. And I don't even think that she knows that they're saying this stuff. And so I feel like she should get her say as well. But they all seem to kind of refer to this time, these 3 days that I guess she can never come back from, where she cried. How dare she? Chris Insync said he knew he wanted to work with Misha when she told him that he couldn't win. And he thought, that's the woman I want to work with. She's being very honest. And I believe Misha probably said that and said, I want to work with you because I don't think you can win. And you look like my crash test dummy that I straddle in the gym and beat up as I prepare for my next cage fight. The Houseguest tonight had a family meal that some of the celebrities cooked. Todd cooked his famous chicken, which is a chicken that he shoves stuff in it, like mushrooms and cream of something and soy sauce. People were excited to eat it, and it turned out really well. And Carson made mac and cheese, Kraft mac and cheese, and Lamar Odom went down and hugged him. He's like, you're making Kraft mac and cheese. I'm so excited. And he was just beside himself over this Kraft mac and cheese. And let me tell you, again, Lamar Odom, hashtag relatable, because I love Kraft mac and cheese. I just had my husband make me Kraft mac and cheese around the holidays and put lobster in it because I'm bougie like that. So then Carson also made a salad. Mariah Nagasu helped prep it. And Cynthia Bailey cooked as well. So it was just a nice family dinner that they all got to enjoy, all of them except for Misha Tate, who is on a very strict diet. Lamar talked more about Khloe Kardashian, that he wanted to talk to KK, he's calling her now, and get some, closure, as Cynthia Bailey called it, or just talk for like 20 minutes. He's like, I just need to talk for 20 minutes. So I really do think Lamar just came into this house like, okay, this will be, some FaceTime for me, and I can get more work out of it and also maybe get my ex-wife back. Mariah gave us some interesting insight into her life. Apparently, she lives in Boston. Her parents live in Arcadia, California. They have a restaurant there, and she doesn't talk to them very much. And Misha Tate kind of questioned her a little bit on this and said, you don't talk to your parents? Why? She goes, well, they raised me to be very independent, and they were really hard on me because they wanted me to have a better life. So it looks like, you hear this kind of story with a lot of professional athletes or Olympic athletes and young gymnasts and stuff like that. It becomes less about the family and more about the sport. And, sometimes, unfortunately, then they're closer to the people that train them or coach them than they are their parents. So I don't know if I'm just picking up on weird vibes and being super emo, but I could sense a little bit of sadness in Mariah. I do sense a sadness in her. And I think that's why I have like special soft feelings toward Mariah Nagasu in this house. Mariah was campaigning after being put on the block. She's talking to Houseguest and she talked to Misha and she goes, Misha, if I get Houseguest choice for Power Veto, I want to pick you. And will you use it? Will you use the veto and take me down? Will you play for me? And Misha said, I have to think about it. I don't know. I'm just thinking on egg whites right now. So I don't have a lot of clarity, but if you could sneak me some yolk. No, she did say she's going to have to think about it, which is never a good sign because she's definitely not going to. She could, that would be a little bit of a boss move, but then that would, very tarnish her relationship with Chris and Sink and Shayna. And then, they would be in the minority in the house as power goes, because that would push, Chris and Sink and Shayna even closer to Carson and Cynthia. Mariah's like, well, if you do that, if I get HOH, I promise that you're safe. And so she was promising safety again. And then Mariah tried to campaign to Todd Bridges. And she said, hey, if you get picked for POV and you win, will you use it on me? And then Todd said, we'll see. She's getting a lot of we'll sees. And I have alliances, he said, and I have to follow them. And I'm thinking, Todd, I love you, Todd, but what alliances do you have? At this point, I think he thinks he's working with certain people. He has Lamar, but Lamar doesn't really want to be there. They're great friends. They're great comic relief. They have a little duo called Willis and Lamar. They want to start their own show, Lamar was saying, where it would be a sitcom about their lives because they have a lot in common with like addiction in the past. And it's a sitcom I would watch. But even if they had a podcast, I would listen to it because these dudes roast each other and it's funny and they seem to have a really nice rapport. And it's interesting to watch on the live feeds. So it looks like they're going to start pitching stuff. And Cynthia Bailey was like, I want in on that. Can I? And then they told her she'd have to pay. And she goes, wait, I'll get my wallet. Wait till I have my wallet back. And we will do this. It's not looking good for Mariah. She's going to have to win that POV at this point. And I kind of hope she does and throw a wrench in the plan. Now, if she does win POV or someone happens to win it and takes her off the block, Chris Instinct's, his plan is to probably put up Lamar next to Chris Kattan. And, someone who already wants to go home, even though he's hoping that doesn't happen. Cynthia is still calling the HOH the HOA.
What's POV?
Carson and Cynthia were talking about Misha looking unhappy when Mariah was put up, and obviously she is. But Carson said with Misha, if you're not with her, you're against her. Cynthia and Carson said it's a lot more comfortable now that Chris and Sink is HOH because they can go up to the room and they can take showers. And it wasn't that inviting when Misha taped. I don't know why they don't think this woman is inviting. I mean, she is just a sweetie wipe the seedy. I mean, look at how inviting those muscles are. Cynthia and Carson made a shrine to Teddy. Basically, it is her water bottles and some nuts and other things that Teddy liked. Cynthia's hilarious. She's doing a lot of cam talk and she's interviewing people and she was talking to Mariah Nagasu and kind of, you guys, she's not really sure what the live feeds are. So she wasn't really having a proper interview show. She's just like, hey, let's shout out this person right here who, yeah, you're watching her, but let's get to know her a little better. And that's when Cynthia learned more about her and was like, whoa, you were the first American woman to land a triple axel in the Olympics? That's so cool. So they had, this little kind of what ended up being a sweet moment where she was giving props to Mariah. Nagasu. But Cynthia also, as she was talking to the cameras, she was talking to her family and Mike Hill, her husband, and her daughter Noelle, and then her stepdaughters now. And she was telling them what was going on inside the house. But at one point she goes, well, I can't tell you some of the stuff because it hasn't aired yet. And I'm thinking, Cynthia, that's the whole point of the live feeds. Those of us that pay for it get to know the spoilers. So she was terrified of spoiling it. So I thought that was hilarious. And she's just like, well, you haven't seen it on an episode yet, so I can't tell you what happened with the competition, but you'll see. Mariah's been talking to some of the house guests and she says she's worried that she's not smart enough for this game because she misses a lot of things. Mariah, she very much feels as though she's an oddball in this house. Like she's the odd woman out. There is a big age gap. I think the next closest person in age to her is probably Todrick, and he's 38, 36. So she's 28. And so she's just not feeling like she belongs. And she's been really struggling with that, which is interesting because normally in Civilian Big Brother, we see that happen with our older house guests because they usually throw in like a 140-year-old and they're like, oh, who brought grandma? Kirkpatrick did a face mask and acted like it was the craziest thing that a man could ever do. Normalize men taking care of their skin. It's not that weird to put on a face mask. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm wearing this. Like my wife does this shit all the time, but I didn't. Gosh, I did a face mask. I did a face mask. Yeah. So, oh, guys do this? Shayna, your boyfriend does? Okay, then I don't feel so weird. You shouldn't feel weird about taking care of your skin. It's the biggest organ on your body. What is wrong with us? Okay, it's okay, dudes. You can moisturize. You can take care of your pores. You can wear face masks. Straight men, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. It's not tied into your sexuality. It's just, maybe you want to care for your skin. Todd Bridges was also a little upset with Chris Kattan, and he told the other house guests that he knew Chris Kattan was going to pick Lamar so that Todd Bridges would be left as the last one holding the Man Wan designed purse, the Nam Now. And he said, that guy has it out for me. And it's really weird every time Chris Kattan and Todd Bridges kind of cross paths. You can just tell they both don't enjoy each other. I'm thinking, you guys should enjoy each other. You have a lot in common. You're both actors, performers, around the same age. One of you snores, the other one's annoyed by it. It seems like they could be the perfect little boomer odd couple, but they just can't seem to stand each other, which is very interesting because they should partner up, especially in this house. Because right now, Kattan doesn't have any alliances, and Todd Bridges has alliances that he thinks are alliances, but they're not really alliances. They're just using him at this point to get what they want on it. But they have no real, I haven't heard a lot of people say they have loyalty to Todd Bridges other than Lamar. And Lamar's got one size 15 shoe out the door at all times. Later in the day, into the evening, Chris in Sync talked to Chris Kattan about putting him on the block. And Chris Kattan, he just looked like, I don't want to hear about it. That's kind of the face that he was making. He was laying in bed in the clock bedroom. Chris Insync came in. He's like, hey, Sarzies, about having to put you up. I didn't want to. I don't want you to go home or anything. I just kind of had to do it. And Chris Kattan is just laying there like, uh-huh. And then he stared up at the ceiling for a long time after this conversation. So I don't think it was enjoyable for him. Chris Kattan wasn't trying to hear it. He's like, oh, really, boy bander? Is that what you're going to say? I'm just totally expendable to you. You don't even care. All the entertainment I give, all the jokes. Who's going to be funny if not me? You think you're funny. You're not. This is Carson trying to spy on the other room. As Todrick and Misha were talking to Todd Bridges, that is when Carson leaned back to listen to the strategizing and tried to spy on them. Carson also has the best bedhead, the best monogram pajamas. I mean, look at the volume in that hair in the morning. Also, later on tonight, Chris in Sync went into Carson and Cynthia's room and Shayna's room and just wanted to talk to them really quick. And he said, I hope you guys know you can trust me. And that is when Lamar once again pounded on the wall. And Chris Insync was like, does he do that? And Shayna said, every night. And Lamar said, are you guys warm? And Shayna says, yeah, Lamar. Mariah at this point was still in the sauna playing with her nail stuff. And she was talking to the cam, saying hi to some friends, possibly maybe her boyfriend. And she just said, while doing cam talk, she said, I really don't know why I'm fighting to stay in this house because I relate to no one, honestly. And then the feeds cut. And when they came back, she was still playing with the nail stuff. And then she said something else completely out of context. I don't know who she was talking about, but she said, what do I think of your marriage? And she said it like a question and then didn't answer it. So I don't know what any of that meant, but I do know that Mariah feels, like I said, alone in this house. She doesn't like that she's been nominated. She doesn't like that she can't get an answer out of people that want to help her, or she can't get the answer she wants to hear, which is like, yes, I'll play POV with you. Yes, I'll take your deal. Everyone's kind of discarding her. So at this point, if she does not win, there is a good chance she will go on Monday. Those are all the updates that you guys need to know. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Who are you rooting for? What are you hoping to happen? Who do you want to win the POV? Please subscribe and like this video. We're almost to 22,000 subscribers. I thank you guys so much for your service as you keep subscribing, liking, and supporting my channel as we geek out over Celebrity Big Brother. I hope you guys have a wonderful, this will probably come out very early Sunday morning, my time, wherever you are. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and I will be back to recap the episode and provide more live feeds throughout this season of Celebrity Big Brother. Take care, guys. Bye.